We are taught a very specific narrative about the law. Judges represent justice, attorneys protect our rights, and legal systems exist to protect the vulnerable. But for thousands of families navigating family courts, the reality looks entirely different. Parents endure prolonged, agonizing separation from their children. The psychological toll is immense. And yet, throughout this process, they are repeatedly told the same thing. The system is working exactly as intended. The damage is rarely driven by corrupt villains breaking the rules. It is usually carried out by ordinary attorneys and judges who confidently assure everyone involved that they strictly followed procedure. How can a legal framework operate with perfect accuracy on paper while simultaneously destroying the very people it was built to protect? The answer is that procedural correctness and human catastrophe are not mutually exclusive. A courtroom can run flawlessly, and the outcome can still be devastating. Every case is measured by two distinct metrics. Professionals track administrative success, meaning filing deadlines, citing statutes correctly, and clearing dockets. Meanwhile, the child measures emotional safety, tracking secure attachment to their parent, bonds that are actively fraying under prolonged litigation. Inside the institution, the daily reality consists of abstractions. The professionals interact with case numbers, motions, and scheduling conflicts. The child's physical reality is much more literal. They experience empty bedrooms, missed birthdays, and the quiet panic of losing a parent. Because the institution tracks paperwork and the child tracks safety, these two realities never actually cross paths. The systemic harm remains entirely invisible to the legal framework. So why don't the people running the courts notice this gap? Most legal professionals do not wake up intending to break apart families. Bureaucratic moral distancing creates emotional distance from consequences. The human outcome in the center is buried under complex administrative layers. Over time, procedure becomes synonymous with ethics. By following rules, professionals feel moral, completely walling off the human result. Phrases like, "I just applied the statute," or "I only ruled on the evidence presented," sound perfectly rational in isolation, but they function as psychological shields, blocking any sense of personal accountability. When combined, these individual rationalizations build a machine capable of massive attachment disruption, where absolutely no one involved feels responsible for the damage. Defining goodness strictly through procedural compliance insulates workers. They are freed from ever having to look at the human wreckage they leave behind. For the families trapped inside, the aftermath is permanent. Parents endure complex trauma, identity fragmentation, and spiritual collapse as they watch their relationships systematically dismantled. But inside the institution, this profound loss is entirely normalized. As years pass and children grow up without their parents, the devastation is simply filed away in a cabinet as another completed matter. Courts fiercely resist acknowledging this blind spot. Admitting that their process causes harm would threaten their public legitimacy, their financial ecosystems, and the professional identities of everyone involved. It would force them to ask difficult questions. What if strict adherence to legal procedure is actually insufficient? What if emotional abuse is completely invisible to our current legal frameworks? Looking at this balance scale, we can see what a truly child-centered system would prioritize. It wouldn't just ask if the paperwork was filed correctly. It would tip the scales toward measuring the emotional cost, demanding to know the developmental toll on the child. True justice doesn't happen when a system simply defends its own rules. It happens when institutions find the courage to step back, look at the results, and ask if their procedures are actually protecting human beings.